Hey everybody, welcome back. Thanks for tuning in. Today we jump back into the kombi again. I'll chuck last episode up here. It was a little bit long-winded. I talked and waffled on and talked a lot of detail. So this episode, much easier, lots of time lapses, a lot less going on. So to catch up from last time, we had most of the frame sorted, but I didn't have it quite mounted correctly. So to this episode, we're going to mount it. We're going to put the hinges on, put some few little aluminium bits in place to strengthen up the roof, and hopefully get this strut sorted. So I want to get this thing to pop up and have it use a strut to do that. So that's going to be in this episode too, and hopefully you enjoy. Thanks guys. Okay everybody, as you saw, cleaned it all up, polished all the edges. I'm pretty happy with it. I did also, on this back edge, there's a little bit of texture here, which I'm thinking might be good. Actually it's on the other side, where I ground down those welds. Might be good for the Sikaflex to be able to stick to everything. So I'm going to leave that instead of smoothing it back down even further. Next up, I have jumped ahead a little bit and just did a few things. So these are the little spaces that I have between the hinges and the back here, just to give it a little bit of, just so the hinge sits nicer and then it can fold up lower. So I have neatened those bits up, and then I've also got some other things ready. So I want to, as I was explaining last time, I want to have the bolts that go through here not be able to be undone from the outside, to give myself a bit more security on the roof. So I have since got these. Yes, they have screws, but my plan is now I'm going to bolt these through here after since we've drilled everything out, and then I'm going to weld these up once they're bolted on so they don't move and they're in the right orientation. And then I have a little bit of an issue. I have 4 of the right bolts and I can't find the other ones here. I don't want to go to the shops. I already went to the shops for that. I'm not going again. So I have the third one here, which I just have some cut down threaded bolts that I will put nuts on this side, pull through, and then I can weld them up on the outside to make them look pretty similar. I didn't want to go to the shops again, but that's all the hardware there, all ready to go. I do have some other little screws that I've been playing with, but we'll get to that in a second. This is the other part. I bought the cheapest and smallest hydraulic strut that I can try to play with, getting this on the roof to have it open and close with the strut, or that actually, in saying that, have this hold the roof up when I'm parked. And so that I'll play with, but also up this end where we put on these latches, I want to have it mounted a little bit nicer than what we have here. So here we just have these tech screws teched into the aluminium. After a while they're going to become loose and horrible and fall out. So I went shopping and I bought this one. So however you say it, I am really happy with the quality. So there's a heap of different ones you can go with. There's so many brands on eBay, on every other website around these days. I even went to a hardware shop and found this one a little, like, just under 3 times. The one at the hardware shop was like 3 times more expensive than this one. And I was like, am I buying rubbish? But I'm really pleased to say this one is actually really good. It's built really nicely, like the thickness on the tool, it's got some weight to it, which I really like. It's not just, doesn't feel like flimsy and you're gonna break it. I then also tested it on this piece of aluminium. So these are the screws, holes that we have to use to put those little clamps or little clips on. And so I did this one and I ended up pulling it a little bit too tight and pulled the threads out of here. It ripped the threads out of the bit, not out of the tool, which was really nice. Not that I was trying to. And then chuck this one in. I put a bolt in here and just try to jerk it around a little bit to try and make sure it was actually gonna be okay. And it's really good. So for $74, I picked up this whole kit. Comes with all these pieces and plenty of nutserts, and pleased to say it's working really well. So also, after we weld these on, I'll nutsert those ones, just that one and that one. We can chuck it on the roof and then play with the strut and see how that goes. So a little bit of time lapse of the welding. Let's get into it. Okay, well, that didn't go the best. Just not a good day for welding apparently. So I can't blame anything else but me. It just didn't work very well. I probably maybe should have cleaned it a little bit more, maybe run some acetone over it or something like that. It's alright, it'll be alright for now. I'll pull them off later once when I glue the roof. At that time I can linish them back and sand them and make them a little bit nicer. I'll probably have to paint them anyway, so that's another job. I'm not happy with it. I might have to do it again, but for now they can stay as they are. They're up there, they're on, and I really don't care. So, done. Next, we're down here. We have to take these out. I'm going to put the nutserts in, put those in, and then we can chuck it back on the roof and see how it looks. This guy's an idiot. So I've welded the hinges on backwards. They're meant to be the other way. I need it to flip this way. Bolt down there, screw through here, and I have done it this way. So I need the roof to be able to bolt onto here, not onto here. But what I'm thinking is if I linish these all the way back, which is what I was thinking of doing anyway, I can use these to bolt into here, but that doesn't quite fit anymore anyway because I wanted to put nutserts in here. Okay, I'll be back. Okay guys, we're back. I went to the shops. It's been a couple of days, but I went to the shops. I picked up some nuts and bolts. Actually, I just picked up some bolts. I got plenty of nuts. So I got them down here on the bench. I got a bit of everything because when I got to the shops, I had no idea what I was asking for. I knew what thread size and what thickness I needed, but I had no idea with length. I just completely forgot to measure everything that I was going to do. I had taken one bolt in, I took this one in, and I was like, I need this, but that was it. So I've got some extra long ones and some middler ones, and some medium length, and then the right size for the hinges. But it worked because what I wanted to do was I wanted to get some that I was going to be able to bolt the roof down all the way through. To bolt all that together. And so I grabbed a couple of the really long ones, some in the middle. I think the middle ones are going to be it, but I didn't want to go back, so I grabbed these. I'll use them at some point. I also pulled the other hinges apart. I pulled the little aluminium spaces off that I'd made. They were all pretty good. And I put the bolts that I bought for the hinges in. Now, maybe I was overthinking things and welding them on. I thought, yeah, okay, you know what? Someone's going to break in, but who's going to break in through the roof? If they're going to break in, they're going to smash a window. So maybe I'm overthinking things, maybe not. I'll see how I think about it over the next couple of days. But I'm thinking, even if I want to, I will just get here and I'll just chuck a little tack on either side of here, which will stop people if they end up trying to break in.
it'll stop them from being able to undo that and access through the roof. But I'm thinking if someone's going to break in, they're not going to try and go through the roof, they're going to smash a window. So any of you bastards out there, don't. So now I have that. The other thing I'm going to do is bolt the whole thing together, bolt it on the roof so the hinges are in the right spot if I do tack it, and then we can move forward from there. Other than what I did last time was backwards. So let's jump into a bit of a time lapse. I'll jump off of the roof. We're going to bolt these hinges and bolts in, get it all sitting there, hopefully get the strut up in there and see if it's actually going to do any good. So let's jump on with that and see where we get to. I think by the time we play with the strut and everything else, that might be the end of this episode. But let's jump up into the roof, man. Let's jump up into the kombi and start getting this thing together. Okay, we're looking good. Get off. Okay, so I think we're looking pretty good. I have everything bolted down. It has a little bit of spring, so that is because the bottom rail is touching on the screws that I just put in here. And because it's all clamped up now because of the other screws we put in to this aluminium rail to bolt to the roof, it's not compressing like it did, which I'm not seeing as a bad thing yet, because I'm thinking I'm going to have to put a little rubber seal underneath each hinge so that I can then get everything watertight. I think it'll give me a little bit extra height, which will then make it a little bit nicer. Also, having it, I think, push up on here is not a bad idea, but it might mean that under here, I'm thinking maybe I'll have to, on this bottom rail, just take a little bit of the aluminium away where the screw heads are, so that when I actually put the bolts in here, that they will not interrupt, they won't interfere with this bottom or the frame. So pretty happy with that. I reckon I'll probably get some questions about these bolts overhanging up here. I have some smaller headed bolts to go on here that don't have the flange. It's, I guess, similar to this one, which if I turn at the right angle, the roof actually, the bolt should go through and the flat should actually end up on the top of the roof, and you'll be able to just screw it straight in. So that I'm pretty happy about. Everything else is looking pretty good. So I think let's get the strut out and let's see if we can get it to do what I think it should do. If that makes any sense. Okay, so I think this works, but I think it's a bit too small. So I think this area is pretty good, but I think just having it come up that little bit further would be nice, like especially standing here, it'd be nice not to be in the roof right now. So I think I'm pretty happy with this, but what I'll have to do is I'll have to weld a little bit more aluminium onto this piece, which will then give me more of a shot to be able to have a longer strut. Because as I put it on first, as you would have seen, as I put it on first, I was not able to close it all the way because the strut was hitting the bottom here. So I'm thinking if I get something a little bit longer, I think that would be good. And I can't. I did think maybe I can push this back, but because of the way the roof is and it curves here, I can't really push this back. Otherwise, I guess I could, but it kind of ruins anything. Like my thought is if I put like a little bit of flashing area, like something I'm going to put around here, that it will, having it in pushed in further would make that kind of ugly, kind of frustrating to make and everything else like that. Whereas having it on the edge here I think works pretty well, but I will have to make this strut a little bit longer so that it pushes up further.
Clamps may have a little surprise for them. The clamps! Right?
There we go. I marked these out and I drilled them. I ended up drilling this one a little bit higher. I did this one and then realized that I had quite a bit of adjustment so that I could then wind the turnbuckles down a little bit to get more clampage on the roof. So I then raised this hole the same amount as I had that hole. I am going to have to call it though, but that's going to do, guys. I really appreciate you guys spending your time with me and hanging out. I really enjoy making this content, so I hope you guys enjoy it. If you have any ideas on what you think I should change or anything I should do better, let me know. I'll take it all in. I read everything, so yeah, let me know what you think. I'll talk to you guys soon. Cheers.